Always when I drink Prosecco on the rocks, it makes me a much better cook. Prosecco, what is it? It is a sparkling white wine from the Veneto, the northeastern part of Italy. Cheap and cheerful, much like myself. And it just makes everything happier, right? I drink mine on the rocks. If you have a problem with that, don't drink my wine. All right. So, what are we making today? Who cares? No. We're making risotto. Risotto without a recipe. So our whole point is today we are talking about risotto, which is what? A cooking method of rice. It is not a type of rice. Oh. So, much like, say, like rice pilaf. You know, when we say, oh, rice pilaf, and we think of like those Uncle Ben's like flavor packets, kind of stuff. So pilaf is a cooking method of rice as well. Risotto is also a cooking method of rice. So when you make rice who is that over there macking on my vibe? Their music was much louder, sound guy, just like, maybe we should have a little bit more music just to like overpower that. Just kidding. I'm sure whoever's over there is a good friend of mine. Hi, I'm Ann Burrell, and I'm inappropriate. So anyway, back to our cooking methods of rice. So rice pilaf, whenever you see that and you say, oh, cover the rice, add the liquid, cover the rice, and then it says fluff the rice. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm not a fluffer. What does that mean? So it means don't stir the rice, because if you stir the rice, it will be clumpy and broken and sticky. Risotto, the polar opposite of that. All we want to do is stir the rice, because that's what makes it creamy and have that beautiful texture. So a lot of times people are like, I don't know, it's all about the stirring. You have to add so much cream. And I'm like, stop the record. There should be no cream ever in risotto. Oh, right? Oh. So how we cook the rice and how we stir the rice and how we treat the rice is what makes a beautiful, creamy pot of risotto. There should not ever be any cream in it. You don't need it. You finish it with a teensy. All right, you guys, come on. Let's do 1, 2, 3 and do a big, huge scream just so it makes it seem like we're having way more fun over here. Ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Ah! I don't know who's over there, but they're going to be like, that goddamn Ann Burrell. I hear that daily. It's not even the first time I've heard it today. Just kidding-ish. So anyway, where was I? Let's talk risotto. And before we talk risotto, all right, first of all, who put a pepper on my station? No. Oh my God, really? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoa! This is so funny. Love you over there, mean it. Okay, so let's talk about risotto, though. Like, really, rice. It's one of those things that can be super snooze fest, Snore City, but it also can be so amazingly delicious. And let's talk about how we can make it amazingly delicious. And by the way, I very much encourage audience participation. If you have some questions or some comments or just, whatever about what I'm making now or anything else, please feel free, stand up, shout it out. This is our time together. Let's use it together, okay? So I know everything. And if I don't, I'll make it up. Just kidding. No, I really do know everything. All right, so let's talk about, though, like when we start cooking risotto, we start with an onion. And to start with an onion, you need to understand how to cut an onion properly. Oh, well, there's the rub. Knife cuts are always important. And you guys may have heard of this little show I do on the Food Network called Worst Cooks in America. Yes, they are that bad. We don't have to fake it. I could never dream to be as bad to food as those people are. My mind just doesn't even go there. But let's just talk. And so I tell these people, and I tell everyone that I teach, Knife cuts are never going to go away. They will always be a part of your cooking career. So whether you're a home cook, whether you're a professional cook, knife cuts are always important. So let's just start with the super basics. How do we hold our knife? We pinch our knife between our thumb and forefinger, and you drop your other 3 fingers downtown. This is how you are in control of this bad boy. This is how you really will take advantage mostly of what the shape of this blade will do. So a lot of times people put their finger out like this, and what happens to people in worse cooks when their fingers are out like this? Yeah, big fat colored red on there. You are not stable with your knife when you are doing this. Or people like to just shake hands with your knife, and they're like, hey, how you doing? No, we are really in control of your knife when you pinch it between your thumb and forefinger and downtown. This will feel odd for your hand. We know that. Accept it and move on. You know, like, it's anything new feels weird. That's what she said. Let's give another 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Okay, so when we talk about holding our knife correctly, and then we talk about roly things. We have roly things, we have our hands and our knife there. Ooh, this makes me a little nerviosa. So let's just stabilize the whole issue. When we look at an onion, like most things, it has 2 ends. It has the stem end that grows up towards the sky, and it has the root end. That is what I like to call the hairy end, because it is. Everyone's like, she said hairy. Yeah, I'm the hair girl. What can I say? So when you're thinking about cutting an onion, always leave the hairy end on. And you will see why in a second. So I'm like, ooh, Rolly, I'm going to cut one end off. I'm going to cut the hairy end off, right? No, I'm glad you're all paying attention. So we cut the stem end off, and then we'll look at what we have. No more Rolly. We stabilize the whole issue. We cut the guy right in half, right through the middle, and then I have a corner in which to peel my onion. And usually I like to take the first layer off too. A lot of times it's dry, it's damaged, it's not beautiful, so I just take it right off. Like, hey, ooh. I only do this when I'm not cooking in my own house. Thank you, sorry, thank you. Hi, I'm still inappropriate. Okay, so now, when we cut our onion, the half of the onion, we take the tip of the knife and we cut to the back, but not through the back. No cutty-offy. And I'm going to cut my onion in slices. And the slices are all going to be the same size. Why? Size does matter because we want all of our dices to be the same size so they will cook at the same speed. Right? Got it. So, to the back, but not through the back. Like this. So look what I have. I have an onion that's cut, but it's together, but it's cut. That's what the hairy end does. It holds everybody together. If you cut the hairy end off and leave the stem end on, your onion will not behave this way. Oh, look at the crazy pants blondie girl does know what she's talking about once in a while. Sorry, cheers to me for that. How about a little cheers for that? Yay! Okay, then one time through the middle, and then we just go, then we just go downtown like this. All right, tip it forward, tip it back, and then you're like, oh, look at that. And then we just have the hairy end to say, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. All right, so just a little quick repeat on that. Okay. To the back, but not through the back. There we go. Look at that. Onion, but cut. But it's together. But it's cut. One time through the middle. And then we just go downtown. And then I have a beautifully diced onion. Hello. So everything will be cooking at the same speed. Oh, good. I know. I'm just ridiculous. I know. My mother says all the time, I just don't know where you came from. And I'm like, I don't either. So, all right, let's talk about olive oil. Ooh, okay. We'll go with this one. Not that there's any difference. There really isn't. I'm just being particular. So let's talk about olive oil for a second. There are no degrees of virginity. You are or you're not. So I don't know why everyone thinks that's so funny. I mean, it's a true story. So when we talk about extra virgin olive oil, though, when we're saying what is the difference, like, oh, why should I buy extra virgin versus something that's called light? So let's just talk about it. Extra virgin olive oil is what they make first. It is cold stone pressing. It is the olives are harvested. They are smashed and crushed between stone wheels, and then they are pressed up and then spun through a centrifuge to get the most beautiful, pristine flavor of olive oil you've ever had. That's extra virgin olive oil. Whether it's mass produced or whether it's like the $30 a liter bottle of olive oil that you buy when you're on vacation in Italy, that olive oil, the $30 a liter, is what you use for salads or for finishing pasta when you want the beautiful green, grassy flavor of olive oil. There are other extra virgin olive oils that are mass produced. It does not mean they're bad, but they are best for cooking. So like the Filippo Berrio, the Colavita, that kind of stuff. But always extra virgin, because after the extra virgin, they take what's left, they either cook it or chemically treat it and extract more olive oil out of it. So it has a bigger degree of oleic acid, and it just tastes like crap. I mean, at the beginning and the end of the day, it tastes like crap. So then if you have something that's light olive oil, I mean, to me, whoever thought of this is genius, because light olive oil doesn't exist. There are all fat, it's a true story. All fat, it doesn't matter what kind of fat it is, whether it's olive oil, whether it's butter, whether it's duck fat, bacon fat, foie gras fat, any of that, all has 9 calories per gram. All of it, it just is. Accept it and move on. Light olive oil is just light in flavor. Oh, but they don't tell people that. They think they're getting like fat-free fat. Doesn't work. So, it was smart of whoever thought about it, but let's just go with the real stuff, okay? Extra virgin, that's it. So, now, when we're talking about starting our pan for risotto, onions, olive oil, it seems like I might have a lot of fat going on in there, a lot of olive oil, but this is pretty much the only fat that we use in the whole dish. So get your olive oil going, your onions in it, and then we're gonna salt. Oh, here, shall we talk salt now or later? So when I first, my first show that I had on the Food Network was a show called Secrets of a Restaurant Chef. And my mother, yes, see, I missed that show desperately. It was my favorite show to do. It really was my baby. But my mother would see it every week, and she would call me, and she'd be like, do you have to cook with so much salt? I'm scared people aren't going to watch your show. And I'm like, yeah, Mom, I do. So the idea is that I don't like food that's just salty. I don't salt food for just salting food. Salt, and I'm going to jump right out there and say this, and I usually have a few people leave my demos when I say this, but it's an accept it and move on for me. If you don't cook with salt, you will never be a good cook. Sorry, it's a true story. Salt, the function of salt and what salt does is it makes things taste more. It's a very low-tech solution. Well, I'm the kind of low-tech solution kind of cook. So have you ever heard of anyone putting salt on watermelon? And you're like, oh, right? Oh, there, you, right. Yeah, there we go. And so we're like, all right, don't get offended about what I'm about to say. So we're about like, what, those freaky people put salt on watermelon? They want salty watermelon? Oh, no. What it does is actually make the watermelon taste sweeter because it just turns the volume up on salt. So You know, and then people are like, oh, I mean, on flavor, sorry. It just, salt turns the volume up on flavor. That's what it does. And so it's like anything, there's always a pinch of salt in your desserts and that kind of stuff. It always just makes things taste more. So if you cook from the periphery of your grocery store, the outside of it, with fresh food, fresh produce, fresh meat, nothing that has been frozen, processed, or canned, you can salt with reckless abandon and you will not get near the salt or sodium levels that are in any of that. Oh, yes. And especially, sorry, I get like really excited about this. Especially not what is in fast food. Sorry. I'm like, okay, everyone's like, you can just go home right now. Sorry, but so I'm not sorry at all, actually. Salt makes things taste good. Salt just makes things taste more. All right, wow. Does anyone have a question? Can I get anyone a cup of coffee? There's loads up at the bar, as far as I know. This is mine. Okay, so what do you got? All right, so the question is, for those of you who are in the cheap seats that didn't hear, is there a newfangled kind of salt that has less sodium? And what kind of salt do I use? So my answer to your first question is, I don't know. I don't know. I am like a kosher salt using girl from way back. And why? It's because what I learned to cook with. And in particular, not only just kosher salt, but diamond crystal kosher salt. And why? It's because I know my pinch of salt every single time, so that I know my pinch of salt is 3/4 of a teaspoon every single time. And so if I need like a tiny pinch of salt, I grab less. If I know more. It's just what I have learned to cook with. Now, Himalayan salt and all of those other kind of salts are amazing kind of salts. They are a lot of times what I like to think of as finishing salts, like Maldon salts and flaked salts and that kind of stuff, have different purposes. But they all have a purpose for bringing out more flavor. So that's what salt does. As far as the low sodium kind of salt, I honestly, I've never looked into it. I don't know. So the
they say the flakier salts actually, when they hit the food or your tongue or whatever, have a better flavor enhancement than what you get out of
well, all right. We're getting into some nitty gritty here, and so table salt, like what you think of, you put in your salt shaker. Yes, are very teensy tiny little round pieces of salt. Kosher salt, if you would look at it under a microscope, is actually like sort of a pyramid. And the pieces of actual salt are much bigger. So per teaspoon of salt or per, whatever measurement of salt, you have actually in kosher salt have 50% less salt than using something like kosher versus table salt. So does that mean that I'm saying go ahead and double the amount of salt you're using? No, it means taste your food as you're cooking. And how should your food taste? Good, right. How should your, again, I'm all about the low-tech solutions. So flaked salt and that kind of stuff, when you have the Maldon and the bigger pieces of salt, they are big pieces of salt, and they hit your tongue, and yes, you feel that salinity and you feel that crunch. That's why they are finishing salts. That's why when you slice a steak and you put the finishing salt, the flaked salt on top of it, because if you salt a steak on the top and the bottom a lot and cook it, guess what's not happening to the middle of that steak? No salt's getting through there. It's a solid piece of meat. So that's why you finish with those salt. Now, when you are cooking with things, you need to season from the beginning. That's why we're talking about our onions, and I'm seasoning them generously from the beginning. Then I'm going to put my rice in, and generously from the beginning, I'm going to season that. So the idea is we are creating a pyramid of flavor. We are creating a wide flavor base, and then we bring it up smaller. If you think that you are just going to cook a dish and season it at the end and have the same effect that you would have from seasoning it and tasting it all the way through, you are absolutely mistaken. You will never get the depth of flavor and the level of deliciousness that you will get from starting from the beginning. All right? Yay! There we go. Whoa. That got serious for a second. But let's just say, I say this because I learned how to cook a lot in the Italian kitchen. So we say sale and pepe, salt and pepper, are not married. They are only dating. Sally always comes to the party. We usually leave pepe at home. I don't cook with black pepper. I am not a gratuitous salt and pepper kind of girl. And it's because salt and pepper don't have the same function. Pepper is a spice, and it's a very strong flavor, and it brings another set of flavor to the ballgame. It's not a flavor I particularly love. I use it as an ingredient. So, like, I don't just salt and horseradish everything. So, that's the same. That's funny, right? But that's the way I feel about pepper. It's just, we've been told so long to salt and pepper everything that we just take it. So, I don't just take it. So then, I thought about it, and I'm like, what is the pepper doing? Let's just stop. So I have my onions that I cooked with the olive oil. I sweated them. Think about, what do you do when you sweat? You get hot, you let off water, and you start to smell. She's so crazy, that Aunt Burrell. Yeah, that's what we do. And so that is also by sweating our onions, pulling the water out, we are developing a huge, wide flavor base. Now, I'm adding my rice. I'm using carnaroli rice. So the type of rice that we use for our risotto is really important. They are short, fat, starchy grains of rice that when we stir them a lot, develop the creamy of that we're looking for in risotto. So we add them, we get them toasted all with all this delicious olive oil, get them toasted in, stirred in with our sweated onions, and we toast the rice to kind of seal it shut. We're like, wait, we're sealing the rice shut to then add a lot of liquid? Well, yes, that is exactly the case. And this is exactly the case why we add our liquid in stages. Because if I just put my rice in with a bunch of liquid and boiled the crap out of it, I would just have like big exploded versions of grains of rice. And so the beauty of risotto, the final effect of what we are looking for is something that looks like creamy and one united thing. But when you eat it, you feel each and every individual grain of rice on your tongue, and then you bite it and you have that al dente, that on the tooth, that little hard nugget in the center. And this is how we achieve that. So we toast the rice, and we want to hear that sort of snap, crackle, pop. We kind of want to see the rice and feel the rice sticking to the bottom of the pan a little bit. And then we're going to give it a big fat drink. Makes us all happy, just like it makes me. How about you guys? Yes? All right. So while I'm toasting my rice and waiting to give it a big fat drink, any questions? Yeah, what do you got?
How do you feel about risotto makers versus
I don't know what a risotto maker is. I consider myself a risotto maker. I feel really pretty good about myself. What's a risotto maker? Sorry.
It's like a KitchenAid machine. You put everything in, you saute it, and then you put the lid on it.
All right, we'll say this. I'm a huge fan of KitchenAid. Very unsolicited. No, I mean, their mixers, their pasta roller is my favorite attachment ever. Their grinder, amazing. I don't know. I consider myself a risotto maker. Oh no, it's a help. I've never heard of one. I've never seen one, so I can't comment. How about that? What do you got?
So let's make risotto that sometimes not short on time. All the first things that I know ours has a recipe that bakes
Well, I don't know what her fake risotto is, but I love Ina. Oh, baked risotto. Baked, fake. You know, it's rice. Next question. Risotto is a cooking method of rice. She might come up with something that's creamy and something that she could refer to as risotto. It is not using the risotto method of rice. That's all. You know, and honestly, do whatever you want. The recipe police are not going to be running right over to your house. Clearly not to Ina's because she has the good vanilla, but Jeffrey would clearly have a problem with that. But I mean, I don't know what her recipe is. It doesn't sound like it's a traditional risotto recipe, but it's all good. If you like what happens in your kitchen or in Ina's kitchen, great. You know, whatever. I mean, again, what I offer to everyone are my opinions as a chef, as a professional chef, and you can take them or you can leave them, but they've worked pretty well for me, and I like them, so there we go. All right, so my rice is nice and toasted. So, what I've done is, it's like a wine facial. I'm like, that's fantastic. I like it. So, all right, so let's just recap what I've done so far. I've olive oil, onions, rice, toasted, like lovely color, deliciousness happening here. Now, I've given it a drink of wine to cover the surface of the rice. Now, I'm gonna stir this until the liquid all reduces, and then I'm going to add chicken stock or vegetable stock, depending on whatever kind of risotto that you want to make, to cover it. And I'm going to do that 3 times. So I'm not giving you a measurement of what kind of, how much to add, because it doesn't matter if you have 1 cup or 10 cups of rice. This is the method. This is risotto without a recipe. So it's sweat your onions, add your rice, cover the surface of the rice with wine, and then 3 times with stock. That's it. And when you get to there, then we're going to do this super secret thing that Italians will never let you know, or they don't want you to know. But I know it, and I'm not Italian, so I'm going to let you know. And then we think about, like, how do we want to flavor our risotto? Whether it's mushroom or whatever. You get your condiments for your rice done on the side and add that in at the end. I see a question back there. Can you stand up and yell it? I can't hear you, I'm sorry. Yes. So I use carnaroli or arborio rice. Those are the names of the rice. They are short, fat, starchy grains of rice. Carnaroli or arborio. So if you roll your shopping cart down the rice aisle saying, oh, I want to make risotto for dinner tonight, and you can't find risotto, that's why. It is a type, it's a cooking method of rice, not a type. So look for arborio, A-R-B-O-R-I-O, or carnaroli. Those are the 2 types that I use. Yeah, my pleasure. That's a good question. Great, thank you. All right, what else do we have? So look at, my wine has absorbed. I feel sticking to the pan again. All right, so I'm going to add my stock in now. Oh yes, good things on the way. So my stock is hot. If my stock isn't hot and I'm adding cold stock to this, what's going to happen? I just take the whole cooking time down a lot. Risotto from start to finish, if you take it from start to finish, just should take 20 minutes. So when you're saying, Ina, that you have, when you're short on time, 20 minutes doesn't seem too long to make dinner. Just saying. Do I make my own stock? It depends. You know, like I'm all about pick your battles too. Like when I have time to make my own stock, sure, I'll make my own stock. If not, there's great stocks that you can purchase. You know, I would just look for ones that say no salt or no low sodium. but don't not make risotto at home because you're like, oh, I don't know, Aunt Burrell says she only makes her own stock and whatever. Pick your battles. It's dinner. Like, relax. Relax. Like, like, right? I mean, do the best you can. That's what I say. I do the best I can. Everyone does the best they can. That's all. Like, take the pressure off and just, like, relax about it. All right, what else do we have about it? What else? What do you got?
Your staff before you came out mixed a yellow and a brown stock together. What were those?
I have no idea. Maybe one was more of a brown chicken stock and maybe one was more of a lighter chicken stock or a chicken and vegetable. I don't know. Sure. If I'm making, I mean, it doesn't matter. If you don't like to use chicken stock, use vegetable stock. If you like chicken stock and don't like veg stock, it's all good. What else? What do you got? A dry white wine. I mean, all right. You don't need to cook with a wine that is a hugely expensive wine. That's a waste. I'd rather drink that. I mean, I'd rather enjoy that myself. I mean, buy something that's a cheapy white wine at a wine store, or if you're, I don't know, like, because in New York, I'm from New York. In New York, they don't sell wine in the grocery stores. So, but they do have these things in the cooking, called cooking wine, and they're absolute shit. They're terrible because they're filled with salt. And they're filled with salt so they don't get like kids and people and they're going to buy them just to drink them. So they taste like crap. So go to your wine store and buy something that is like a cheapy bottle of wine, but that's decent-ish, kind of stuff. Like a $4 or $5, $6 bottle of wine is fine to cook with. Absolutely. All right, what do you got?
What is your favorite type of food? Like, what's your favorite genre of food?
Italian. Is that what you're like? Is that what you're looking for? Or you're like my favorite dish? I mean, and then I'm like, then it makes me think like, what do you mean? Is it like my favorite hangover food? Or is it my favorite like guilty pleasure? Is it my favorite like, like give me my favorite dish. All right, so my favorite thing to make ever is pasta. Because I love so much making pasta from things that are so base, like flour, eggs, olive oil, and starting. And it's like what you do with these. And then where do you go with that? Like, what kind of pasta am I doing? Is it short? Is it long? What season is it? Like, what do I feel like eating right now? Like, what kind of sauce do I want to do? Is it rolled? Is it stuffed? Is it, so there's so many things that you can do with it. That kind of stuff. Pasta is my absolute favorite. When, my favorite thing to eat is like, because there's so rarely the time that I can actually identify the thing that I really want to eat when I'm hungry. And so when I actually can do that and identify it and say like, ooh, yes, I really want a BLT sandwich that I made right now with summer tomatoes and just the right crispy bacon and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that's what like is my favorite dish at the moment. But pasta, really, like any day, any way, anyhow, anytime, I can strap a feed bag of pasta onto my face and be really freaking happy. All right, so I've got a bunch of different mushrooms here. I've got some beautiful morel mushrooms. My pasta is coming along. My risotto is coming along. I've added my second addition of stock. So it's cooking away. I'm bouncing back to stir it every now and then. I'm getting a pan ready to saute my mushrooms on the side. And then I'm going to add those in at the last minute while I finish my risotto. So what else do we have while I'm doing this? What do you have?
I've noticed you haven't touched the temperature. Where are you on the
I'm at like a medium high.
And it stays there all the time?
Yeah. I mean, if I feel like it's getting away from me or if not enough is happening, I can always adjust the temperature. But, I feel like a medium high is where, like let's get to dinner. Like a lot of times people are like, I don't know, I'm scared I'm going to burn it. And I'm like, well, if you see things getting away from you, turn the burner down. They adjust for a reason, kind of stuff. Or if not enough is happening, turn it up. You know, I'm like, years ago when I was teaching culinary school, I had this woman come to me and say, Chef Ann, I can't make lentils. And I was like, really? Why? And she said, well, you know, I follow the directions exactly, but they always come out hard. And she said, you know, it says simmer them for 20 minutes, and I do that, but they're still hard. So what the recipe failed to mention was bring to boil, then reduce to simmer, and simmer for 20 minutes. Because this woman was following the directions exactly. She was putting her lentils, you know, cold tap water, putting her lentils in there, putting the burner on simmer, the simmer setting, which probably in her New York City kitchen, you know, like a rental apartment, was like probably like a big flame. And, you know, and of course the lentils were never getting done. So it was a faulty recipe. So I'm like, you know, that's why I always try to think of when I'm writing recipes or when I'm teaching people, like you have to come up to temperature first, like bring to boil, reduce to simmer, BTB, RTS, you know, like we might have heard me say that 1 or 2 times before. But so I'm always about like, look what's happening in your pan rather than what your burner setting says. So think about like where you're trying to go with your recipe because everyone's burner setting is different and everyone's timing is different. All right, what else do we have? Yes, over here.
Yeah. What is the favorite show that you've made so far?
My favorite show that I've ever done? Well, I mean, Secrets of a Restaurant Chef. I love Worst Cooks because I love to see people like overcome so much. And, you know, we kind of start off laughing at them, but they know they suck, so we're not really laughing at them. But a little bit we are, but, you know, but then we see them dig deep and really turn around and make huge changes and stuff. But I have to say, really, I still miss the days of doing Iron Chef with Mario. That's how I got my start on the Food Network. I mean, I would not be where I am without Mario Batali. I am eternally grateful. But he was such, like, you know, an inspiration and a good person to me, and I loved being a part of that team so much. I mean, like, I would remember when we would walk into Kitchen Stadium, and I kind of sometimes would feel bad for the other team because we were the team to beat, and we were like, sorry, we were tough, and I used to like try to look badass on purpose, and you know, like we won a lot, and I loved every minute of it, and I do miss that. And so when Iron Chef Gauntlet came back, I texted Mario, and I was like, are you gonna do it? Can I be on your team again? He's like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And I was like, rats. You know, I really miss it. I loved that show. But Secrets of a Restaurant Chef and Worst Cooks are my absolute favorites. All right, what else we got?
I love it on your program when you talk to the food.
Hello, my little cuties, right. So, yes, I would talk to my food a lot, and it would just be because, you know, when you are on stage by yourself and performing for no one, you know, a big room like this and no one else is in it, and you see people like reading the paper, and the camera guys who've heard everyone before and they don't give a crap what you're saying, and that kind of stuff, you know, like, and so just to like kind of take up dead air, I would be like, hello, my little cuties, and I would talk to my food just because I was uncomfortable. But then I found out years later that Emerald did BAM because in the beginning days of the Food Network, they just didn't have any content, and he would be so tired, so he would do BAM just to keep himself awake. Right? There's a little fun fact for you. All right. So I'm sautéing my mushrooms, just a little mushrooms, a little salt, and then I'm gonna just come down the home stretch with my risotto. So I'm just gonna bite it to make sure. See, look they're done early over there. So I'm just about at the right place where I want to be with my risotto. So I'm gonna finish it in just a second. But we're gonna saute these guys, a little salt. We're gonna add them to my dish, and then we're gonna finish it up. And I'm just gonna, while we're waiting for these two things to come to the exact correct point, I'm gonna cut a little chive, a little gratuitous green, just because I like it and it makes things look beautiful. So what do we got? I have time for like 2 more questions. What do we got? Anyone? Good? Wait, you already had a question. You didn't have one. Oh, wait, you had a question too. Who didn't have a question? Yeah, you over there. What type of pans do I prefer? These are all clad. I have all clad in my house. I also have, just to do a shameless shill if we're gonna do it right now, I have a line of pans on QB or HSN. I didn't say that. On Home Shopping Network called Corvex that actually are wildly effective pans. It kind of shocks me how great the technology is with them. But yeah, I'm an all-clad or that kind of girl, yeah. What do you got?
How authentic is like the risotto when you say, you know, it has that kind of inner crunch or
It shouldn't have a crunch. It should have just a teensy little bite in the center when you're like, it's like if you bite the grain of rice in half, you should see just the teensiest little white nugget of uncooked rice in the middle. It should not be crunchy. What do you got? The middle of the mushroom, the stem. Well, just for these guys, I usually chop these up and use them for something else, but it's just like for the shape of it to go along with the rest of the mushrooms that I have. Everybody should be the same size so they cook at the same time. Pish posh. I saute everything in olive oil. I mean, you know, like, sure, it has a low smoke point, but I'm not burning the crap out of my onions or my mushrooms either. So everything I saute or use, I use olive oil. It has plenty of a high smoke point to saute stuff in. All right, so I'm adding my sauteed mushroom to my risotto. My risotto, I know because I've tested it, is perfect. I'm stirring this in. Now, here is the kicker and the key. This is how, all right, just a teensy tiny bit more stock. This is how we finish risotto, and this is the kicker right here. So I have some butter. I'm looking for Parmigiano. So we turn the burner off, and we add some butter and some Parmigiano, and we do what we call the mantecare, which means to whip the hell out of it. So, true story. So really about like, I don't know, that's about a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half of butter, and some cheese. Oh, apparently I struck a right chord with you people, cheese. So, and this is when I'm saying we whip the hell out of it, I mean it. Shut it. So what this does is it sets the perfect texture of the risotto. It takes like this starchy risotto and it makes it look like something from soupy rice to something that is all one thing, that is all belongs together. An emulsified thing. And it says, the Italians have a word for it called alondra, and so if you're a teeny bit tight here, we add a little bit more stock, whip it up, and it's like alondra is the wave. So it's like the wave. Like, yes, there we go. And it is just right. So we add a little green. And that's it. And that is a perfect risotto. Look at that. Yeah! Right. There we go. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for coming to see me.